He could picture himself doing, get his horse and his horses and go out in the countryside and all this stuff. And and then he said, the point is that this isn't the only life available. There's a whole galaxy of things to choose from. And then the doctor laid out his epic rejoinder. He just shot back and said, not for you. And then he kind of let that sink in. And then the doctor went on and said, a man either lives life as it happens to him, meets it head on and licks it, or he turns his back on it and starts to wither away. Which is why he was suggesting to Pike, take a vacation, but don't give up on this most meaningful part of what makes life count for you. You've got to be a captain. Because if you don't, that's when you really die. And so now, as Pike finds himself standing in that ideal vacation spot that he wanted to permanently vacation to, he finds himself realizing that he finally understands the doctor's answer. And then we get the line from him that I quoted a minute ago, which is kind of partially quoting the doctor. He says, Tavina, because you either live life, bruises, skinned knees and all, or you turn your back on it and start dying. I think this observation plugs in an interesting way to the different cases when Star Trek characters wanted to resign from Starfleet. Also the case in Picard Season 1 where Picard was retired, like totally retired, and then there came a point when he realized that I'm no longer living, I was waiting to die. But also those three cases in DS9 where a character contemplated resigning. So when Sisko contemplated leaving Starfleet in the pilot episode of DS9, and then when Worf did in Season 4, and Ezri in Season 7. In each case, there's the question, well, what are you going to be doing instead? And the question also of whether, are you actually running from life itself? And perhaps are you maybe, without knowing it, you're actually running from some of the very few things that you've actually got left right now to live for, the things that actually give you a sense of meaning, a sense of structure and significance? Could you actually be, without knowing it, to use some of Dr. Boyce's language, maybe you're actually pushing yourself toward a place where it's going to turn out that you have turned your back on life and you're just going to be withering away. Or to use Pike's language from the picnic scene, you're just going to start dying. In each of those three cases in DS9, there were unique reasons, complicated reasons for that desire to escape from all of life, to resign from Starfleet. And usually it was related to some kind of grief or something a whole lot like grief. For Sisko, it was the loss of his wife. He also lost his ship and of the community and everything, his job associated with that. But mostly it was his wife that did it for him. For Worf, he lost his community and a sense of security and identity within that community. For Ezri, it was the total loss of her sense of self and her sense of her ability to live life effectively, to be who she had been. But like what Sisko said to Worf when Worf was wanting to resign, Sisko tried to help Worf understand, realize, going off to work on some freighter, that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to, there's these certain kinds of freighters, they're always looking for somebody. I could go work there, And he's trying to get Worf to realize, going off to work on some freighter like that, where you've lost all of the challenge and sense of purpose and meaning that you associate with Starfleet here, going off to do that is not going to ultimately resolve the emptiness you feel. Maybe taking a break would help, like with Pike and what his doctor says. Maybe taking a break wouldn't be a bad idea. Or maybe another thing that might help is just coming into closer contact with that sense of meaningfulness, which in that moment of grief might seem like it has dissolved with everything else. Doesn't mean it is gone. It means your sense of it is gone. In season 5 or 6 or something like that of DS9, Sisko faced another burnout type period. He wasn't explicitly talking about leaving Starfleet, I don't think, but he was kind of at that kind of place where he wasn't sure if he could keep going because of the seeming futility of everything. It was the war efforts and the endlessness of his high priority. Everything's high priority, and he's trying to make this difference and it doesn't seem like the difference was being made, that kind of thing. And he just kind of felt like he was stuck in this trap and he was feeling like he had to quit, like he couldn't keep going. But in that story, what ended up rejuvenating him it was the whole episode, but it was him having an experiential reminder specifically of the meaningfulness of what he's doing when it doesn't feel meaningful. And particularly of the invisible role that destiny plays in taking the seemingly pointless and mundane decisions that you do day by day and weaving them into a greater picture, into destiny. And I'm talking specifically about Far Beyond the Stars and that extended vision that was given to him by the prophets. In that case, his break from the doldrums of life, his break wasn't him getting a break from emotional tension. It was actually a break from his specific situation that involved him stepping into a different set of emotional tension, but of a different kind. But more importantly, one that involved and gave him a reminder and a therapeutic recasting of what it is that makes life meaningful, and really of the nature of the universe. Anyway, so it seems like Pike here has had an aha moment that has brought him into closer contact with the sense of meaningfulness in terms of what it means to be a Starfleet captain. And the fact that he really doesn't want to wither away with his 2 horses in the beautiful picnic scene for good. He doesn't want to go there and die. He doesn't want to go there and wither away. And just like Sisko made that decision to stay on at Deep Space Nine at the end of DS9 Episode 1 because he realized that the Bajorans and the space station and this ragtag community and everything, that these people were worth investing in. This mission was worth investing in. It meant something, and he could feel alive again by giving himself in this kind of way. And so he chose to stay. In the same way, Pike here realizes that life and feeling alive, it's not going to come by running away from his calling, but by embracing it. By taking a break when necessary and giving yourself the time to process your losses and your pain and your disappointments and your failures, if that's what you've got. But then to go back and keep on living in the most meaningful ways. Anyway, so moving on with the episode. So finally, eventually, Vina is able to confirm Pike's suspicion that, quote, they can't read through primitive.